Every day, we're bombarded with a multitude of mass media messages. They tower over our streets, peek at us from newsstands, penetrate our living rooms, flicker from storefront windows, clog our inboxes, fill our airwaves. But what does it all mean? How do we know what to believe? Our media helps shape our perceptions of the world we live in. But what perspectives are being left out? What stories are being left untold? And what are some of the things we can do to try to improve things? What if you knew that today more than 30 wars are raging around the world and 90% of the victims of war are women and children? Innocent people like you and me. That some 770 million people, 2/3 of them women, still cannot read or write. That more than 17 million Africans have died from AIDS and another 25 million are infected with the HIV virus. Approximately 1.9 million of whom are children, or that it's estimated that 218 million children between the ages of 5 and 17 work in developing countries. Today there are over 300,000 child soldiers fighting in wars. Many are 8 years old or younger, and in the past 10 years more than 2 million children have been killed in armed conflict. There are more than 15 million AIDS orphans under the age of 18. Over 115 million children aren't in school. 2/3 of those children are girls. What if you knew more about these things? What would you do? What could you do? We spoke to a group of young, active global citizens who are working to make a difference and are harnessing the power of youth, creativity, technology, and passion to do it. They gave us their take on how the media affects our perceptions, how to cut through the noise and get informed, and what strategies they're learning to create sustainable change in the world and right here at home.
A lot of that power is basically held within the people who create the media.
There are a few hands that control a great deal of news distribution in our society, in Canada and the US especially.
And it's important to, first of all, diversify those voices, especially with the conglomeration and the occupation of other media accesses. It's like you're getting all your information from like 2 or 3 major sources, and oftentimes we don't give ourselves enough variety in which to basically come to a conclusion.
The best we can do, I think, is have a discerning eye and really try to see who's writing the article, think of what kind of political background the owners of this newspaper might have, and then think about what interests they might have in spinning a story a different way. Because there's always spin, and it's just a matter of figuring out what spin am I reading right now.
If you hear a news story that interests you, like headline news or whatever, go online, type in a keyword, and just start looking, site after site after site, and eventually you'll start putting together the pieces to the puzzle.
If you seek for help to try to really deconstruct these images that they see, then it makes it easier. You need to turn to people and say, okay, what do you think of these things? Or turn to your teachers, or turn to your friends or mentors to help understand what you're seeing and hearing through the media.
I find a great way to learn things you might not otherwise is to expose yourself to people who might not agree with you. So that's like joining clubs, like debating teams, hanging out with people who might be a little different than you. That's how you can shift your worldview and really question your assumptions.
Because at the end of the day, people may not be as informed of your story, so it's important for you to actually try and tell it yourself.
It's like they say, the revolution will not be televised, so independent media is where we can really engage and be critical.
People can come together, and it's not impossible, and it's not, an impossible task to bring people together for a common goal or a common cause. People united can never be defeated, and when we're brought together, we're way stronger in numbers.
When I was in high school, we had a global outreach team. It looked like a lot of clubs that are now in high schools, but this was 10 years ago, so those groups were few and far between. And we actually raised money to go to the Dominican Republic. We went to do community development there. I stayed with a local family there, and in a one-room house with 16 people. And that was my first time being exposed to a really different life outside of my culture. When I came back from that trip, I knew that I wanted to make a longer-term commitment. I just wanted to be a global citizen and see if I could do that in a less formal way outside of a profession. There's a center in Toronto called St. Christopher House. There's a program there called the Immigrant and Refugee Settlement Program, and I teach English classes in that program.
My passion lies in the anti-war movement, in the student movement, in the women's movement, and all these different movements that are very much interconnected and all fighting for the same cause, which is social justice and political change. At this conference, we had hundreds of students come out. We were talking about the student movement, the power of the student movement, what students have done historically for social justice, what students have done to end the war in Vietnam, how students organized to end apartheid in South Africa, how students organized to end segregation in the United States. This is what this conference is talking about, what students have done before and the lessons we can learn from them to apply today.
There's so many challenges facing the world today, it's sometimes hard to know where to begin. To believe that one person's actions can make a difference. But young people all over the world, just like you, are finding real ways to get involved every day. And not just in surface-level initiatives, but in innovative and sustainable development projects that have lasting impact.